Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic University podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Canton III, and I'm happy to be back. Thank you to one Jake Christie for holding down last week with What If, with Hunter Radisi as well. Appreciate you, good gentlemen. And yes, the super producer is actually here. The first time I'm with him this year in 2024. Jake, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. You called me the super producer, so I had to break out the not the plaque, but I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better. It's unfortunate you weren't here for What If, but Hunter came through after a long shift at work, so I shout him out again. But yeah, happy to be talking to you in 2024.
Yes, and what we are talking about this evening is the Disney Plus series Echo, episodes 1 through 3. Very excited to talk about it. We do have some guests with us, some special guests. First, friend of the show, back for the first time in 2024, Rod Morrow, aka the Black Guy Who Tips. Rod, how you doing, bro?
Yo, what up, family? I'm doing great, man. Glad y'all asked me to do this.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we have a first time guest on the pod. I just told him, I just finished telling him in our Discord, we have a channel called Twitter Tomfoolery, and he is the subject of a lot of the tomfoolery in the tweets. His name is Teej. Will he have us in hell tonight? I have no idea. But Teej, welcome to the program.
Thank you. First of all, thank y'all for having me, and always looking for an opportunity to talk more MCU. So I'm very excited for the call, and I'm happy the call didn't come for the only thing I haven't watched, which was What If season 2. I haven't watched that yet, so
It's fine. You
I
can
have,
take it or leave
I
it.
have tapped into Echo, so I'm ready. I'm ready.
Mhm.
Nice. That's excellent. And yes, Echo, Alakwa Cox, Maya Lopez, picking up after the events of Hawkeye, which episode 1 kind of visits in great detail. The end of her story there and kind of picks up there. Teach, since this is your first time on the show, I'd like to ask you first. Just give us your general overlay of what you saw in the first 3. We'll break down the episode at each episode as we go along here, but I wanted to give just your general feel for tone and everything that came into your watching experience.
Let me start with love. Let me start with the positives. As people could probably tell from the trailer, and as I definitely picked up from the trailer, the fight scenes are pretty cool. They're filming them. You can obviously tell that they watched a lot of what happened with Daredevil, and they're kind of filming those fight scenes in a similar way. They're even playing with the sound because this particular character happens to be deaf, so they're playing with the sound in a way that they kind of ratchet up and like they did with Daredevil. They ratchet up his sound because his hearing is better than the average person's hearing, obviously. So you can see that they're paying a clear homage to Daredevil, which I really like because that Daredevil was ahead of its time and just so much fun to watch. And the way that those fight scenes were staged, you can definitely see that that's part of the influence here. So that would be a positive. And I really like how they're trying to weave in her Choctaw heritage into the storyline. Every episode kind of starts with an ancestor basically, and a powerful woman and their story and how they fit into her story is kind of being spooled out slowly. I think that adds to the narrative they're trying to pursue, and I really like that. However, outside of that stuff, I have a lot of issues.
Sure.
Having a character who is quiet, and I don't mean quiet like she doesn't speak like verbally. I mean quiet as in like she has so much trauma going on that she literally does not communicate. It makes it really, really hard to get the pacing right, and everybody who she interacts with is kind of talking at her, and she's not really having real conversations with people. There are some scenes where she is having more of a dialogue with people in those 3 episodes, but it's more of the exception to the rule where people are talking at her and she's kind of just either ignoring it or internalizing it, but not really saying anything back. That makes it really hard, and it puts a lot of weight on the actress who now has to only communicate how she's feeling to the audience based on not what she's saying to people, but really how her face is in any given moment, or maybe what action she's taking. She's really angry. She picks up a gun. She just shoots it because she's so angry about what's happening, right? That is not easy to do. And you really feel that struggle in terms of trying to figure out what the character is feeling. Obviously, we know she's going through trauma, but to get to specifically what she's feeling in a given moment is tough because she's not a talker. She's not talking about those things. I do think a lot of the shows suffer from having like the tonal differences of like very serious scene followed by a very funny scene followed by a scene of levity, and I feel like a lot of the MCU shows struggle from that. This one is the opposite. It is very pretty much straightforward. There's not a lot of comedic relief, and I never thought that I would say this, but I find that pacing and that tonality is a bit weird for me. There's just something weird about it. It feels like this show is. I like that it's only 5 episodes, and obviously it's the first entry in the Spotlight series where we're getting more grounded and more like street level. I like that. I like that we're more grounded and more street level. But in terms of the narrative of Echo, there are just certain decisions that are being made that are kind of baffling to me. So I would say it's a mixed bag for me in terms of my reception to the first 3 episodes.
That's interesting. We're gonna dive into that a little bit further, but I wanted to hear from Rod, just like your general thoughts coming into it, watching these three. How did it play to you? How did it feel for you?
Well, y'all know me. Number one, I pretty much like everything. I'm a pretty generally positive person on stuff, except for Secret Invasion, which sucked. But this one, I think they had like a steep hill to climb because like Echo kind of had an origin story already in Hawkeye. So it's like we're not really an origin story.
Yeah.
But then the new like she has abilities thing is kind of like an origin, like because every episode is like here's the origin of these abilities, but not necessarily her. I do like that they are totally nailing she's an anti-hero. I don't necessarily feel like I am rooting for a good guy in these first 3 episodes. She does some stuff where I'm just like, yo, that's pretty damn. That's like for you to be mad at Hawkeye turning into Ronin, you are Ronin in a lot of people right now, sis. I'm not sure you have the moral upper ground anymore. And then also like it is interesting because I'm monitoring as especially looking at the writing, how difficult it is to insert new heroes this far along the cycle and have them be any level of different from the people before them. So I feel like her being an anti-hero, they're pretty much nailing that. But there's no quips, there's no one-liners, there's no like you're not like she can't like knock somebody over the head and then sign language like a quippy thing. So like there really is no comedy coming from her whatsoever. um and once again, I do love some of these like secondary characters, like the grandpa and stuff. Like I and this is just the Jake will probably talk about this too, but it's just a burden of have 22 episodes. So I love those people, but it's never gonna feel like I got enough of them because that you just literally can't. And then the other thing for like just positives, uh the Daredevil moment I loved it. The choreography, the suit, the stick with the that actually felt like from the comics. You like I dug that. I did not think they'd do that so fast and like so seamlessly. And it did make a lot more sense, like in hindsight, how that endeared her to Kingpin. Because in Hawkeye, I was like, yo, how she become his number one? Like, what what happened? What Wesley's rolling in his grave, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, she had them hands. Okay, he's like, you built different. But yeah, those are my overall takeaways from the first 3 episodes.
Interesting. And Jake, how about you, sir?
I enjoyed it more than I didn't, definitely. I think that Teej is right about. I think that there is a. I don't want to say that the supporting characters are one note, but it feels like too many characters have the same relationship with her, and so it's a lot of the same conversations again. Her cousin who owns the roller rink, Bonnie, and her grandma all kind of have the same vibe towards her of you're gone, you're doing bad stuff, and I feel like that. Like, I wish one of those characters had, even if it wasn't like quips, because I think that is the thing that Marvel gets accused of inserting to everything. But there's no lightness with really any relationships except Biscuit, which kind of feels, pun intended, undercooked. Like, he doesn't really feel like a full character. But I think that Alako Cox is really good, and I think that the thing I really appreciate about it is that it's nice to see, especially with like, there's a problem I think with superhero movies and shows, or any sort of action movies and show. Well, they'll cast like a woman to play an action hero, but they don't want her to get an action hero shape because they think that doesn't look attractive. And so it's like a 100-pound woman beating up 300-pound dudes. Whereas like Alaquax looks like she can beat up people. She's like 6'5", not really, but she's like 6 foot tall. She really like you believe it. And I feel like that they're able to have a brutality to the fights that you can't have with like Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson has to do crazy kicks and flips because she can't, overpower someone. Whereas Echo, the fight feels like a fight. It doesn't feel like ballet. And that really was great. And I think that the acting from the sporting characters, I think, is great. The grandpa, played by the great Graham Greene, he's just such a fucking pro. You see him show up in something, you're like, is Dennis Haysbert here? I'm in good hands. Like, I just love him. The grandmother, who's played by Tansu Cardinal, who of course is great in Killers of the Flower Moon this year. I think that the vibe that this town has too is really interesting. They don't spell it out in any way, but I think it's a very interesting thing where it's, the vibe of, I think people who are not familiar with Native American culture, which, I'm not super familiar, I think have this vision of where Native Americans live is like a completely different world. But like, it just looks like any town you'd see in the Plain States. But of course, it's more than that. But I think that the juxtaposition between those two things, which is never called out, is really rich. And so I'm excited to see where it goes the last two episodes. And I feel like, if anything, I think it's made me more excited for the character, because I kind of was like, after Hawkeye happened, I'm like, I'm so excited for Echo. But because of the speed that Marvel moves at, it was 2+ years before we got Echo.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do we still need this? And I feel like they are, in a lot of ways, justifying the character, because she really is like, nothing about this, besides the fact that it takes place in a world of superheroes, would make you describe this as a superhero show. She's just like a criminal who's taking out another criminal enterprise.
Mhm.
Yes. I think the thing that kind of stands out to me watching the first three is mainly the tone of the series. I think it's obviously a different tone, which I think is a good thing. Coming into this kind of street level series, which I really do feel that Marvel needs to lean into in the coming years, and I hope that they do. And it seems like, at least with Fisk coming into play, that they're going to do that more. And then you see Daredevil, obviously, that's a positive as well. And I think, and I'm not necessarily going to call it disappointing yet, but I I had heard just generally about like the way that post production went with this is that, they had more, they were going to do 6, something didn't work out, they made a bunch of changes, turned it into 5, turned it into a binge model, left it kind of in this space where it's released in this month, where usually when you release stuff in this month, this is like we releasing the shit just for whatever and calling it a binge drop. That part is disappointing to me, specifically for this character and the culture that it's representing. Obviously, even as somebody who doesn't know about it specifically, I feel like when it comes to any type of different culture, black, Hispanic, all of these things that we list, the things that we saw in Miss Marvel and the way that they handled that, and the stuff that we saw in Moon Knight, the way that they handled that, and everything that Marvel has tried to do with these different types of characters, I feel like, even without having seen the entire series as of yet, I still feel like they dropped the ball here with the way that they presented it to us. And I think that you can't talk about the show without saying that, even if I enjoy it, which I have so far. So I just wanted to get that point out there.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of positivity of the show, like Alakwa Cox, I really I just enjoy her vibe. It's just she has a presence, and which says a lot, because she can't speak. So that's pretty cool in itself, that she has stature in a way that you wouldn't expect. And this even goes back to Hawkeye. So like, this is no big surprise, but to see her continue that is like really cool and awesome. I think you guys really hit a lot of great general points about not only the characters around her, but I think the fight scenes, the Netflix vibe that Teej said. I think it's cool to really get back to that, to get to this kind of grounded stuff. You spend a lot of time in cosmic, we spend a lot of time in multiverse and time travel and things like that. Sometimes we want to see people just beat each other's ass. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we just need that. So that aspect of it was cool as well. And we can jump right into the first episode.
Can I get a quick thought on the release?
Yeah, sure.
I think I think a lot of people who are like very into movies and TV, like myself, will sometimes think that regular viewers are like stupid and don't really get studio strategy. And while regular viewers can't like read tea leaves, I think you can tell by box office numbers generally that regular viewers subconsciously can tell when a studio doesn't have confidence in something. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is a thing. It's happened with Marvel. I think that the Marvel Disney was clearly, before like the Marvels, was clearly kind of like hedging, like, ooh, this isn't going to be good. Or even with the new Aquaman, they clearly were like, this isn't going to be that important. And audiences didn't show up because they knew that it wasn't being treated that importantly. And so, well, I think some people would be like, oh, regular viewers don't care if it's binge or whatever. It's like, no, regular viewers know, oh, all these previous series were week to week, and future series are going to be week to week. Clearly, the fact that this is coming out as a binge, Marvel, the people who ostensibly want me to watch this, don't think it is worth 5 weeks of my time. That sends a message to audiences, and I think it's a really bad precedent to set, because I think so much of what made the MCU work when it was humming was this idea that, like, even if you don't see everything is important if you want it to be. And like, in the same way that, like, I don't mind if What If does that, because What If is not actually, in the grand scheme of things, not that important. But a show introducing someone of two really important underrepresented cultures, because she's both deaf and Native American, which are two really underrepresented things on screen, to be like, but she's not as important as, Secret Invasion. Like, no, that's ridiculous. The fact that we had to spend 6 weeks straight talking about Secret Invasion, but we have to get these Echo episodes done over a week because it's a binge, pisses me off.
If there's any show that deserved the drop, just drop it all at one time, it was Secret Invasion. What a fucking waste of time that shit.
Oh my god!
I do wonder if some of this is a reaction to Secret Invasion. And
I think it is.
You know what I mean? Where like they're trying to get ahead of the audience and be like, look, man, we actually don't know if they're gonna like or hate something anymore, and we took a hit putting Secret Invasion out week to week, and it led to like 8 weeks of hate as opposed to like love. So like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, because honestly, man, there's some thought and context put into this series that I think it clearly shows they gave a fuck. Like, it did, like, I don't feel like they just dropped this because they were like, oh, it's whack, fuck it. If I like watching some of the like breakdowns on it, and when people get into like the cultural touchstones of like the woodpecker and stuff like that, and you're like, yo, that's pretty deep. And they're not doing it like message, like they're just like, with so much like culture stuff that's not mainstream white culture, there's normally like a moment where they look at the screen and literally tell you like, the woodpecker, that's an omen that means that goes back for our people. Like, they don't even really do that. They just have stuff happening all the time. And it's like, catch up if you can catch up, look it up if you want to look it up. So and then having like the Daredevil Netflix universe all come in through this, they clearly gave a fuck. But yeah, it's the way they dropped it screams don't give a fuck. And I saw so many previews for it, so like, I don't even want to say like they didn't market it, because like, honestly, every time I logged into YouTube, I was getting a new version of this Echo trailer. Like, I was like, yo, y'all gotta slow down. Like, y'all telling me the whole damn story.
NFL games and NBA games.
They clearly care.
On ESPN,
and then the last thing I'll say is, I also wonder if some of the hesitance is, this is not for kids. Like, this is our one that is, like, we're shooting motherfuckers, we're breaking legs, it's getting gory out here. She ain't really a hero. We can't give her the same. We have to give it the late night Daredevil marketing treatment, and not the Cartoon Network and everywhere you see something treatment. I just wonder.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. I think the point that I would add to that is pretty much the same one that I said before. Specifically when, as you mentioned, Rod, you have these cultural touchstone, like real moments that seem like the writers really worked hard to get in there and worked hard to tell in a specific way to translate to the viewer. I think that's something that, just like how Miss Marvel was able to do the whole thing about the partition and everything along those lines, this should be served the same way. And that's really the larger point for me on that is, and what Jake says as far as like the implication, all you need is the implication that you think it sucks. And then you have to not think that the viewer is as dumb as you think that they are, that it's like, oh, we're releasing it as a binge when we've seen everything else be
And
this
also,
specific way.
when
Yeah.
it's not week to week, you don't get the press rollout, like all the other
Yeah.
series, like you interview like the directors and showrunners like halfway through
Yeah.
and talk about, oh, what are they setting up. When you just drop it like this, it's like, all right, so we watched it, I guess that's it. Thanks.
Yes, yes. And yeah, and like I said, like all the changes, that whatever changes were made that turned this from 6 to 5, you can never really know what happens there when it comes to studios and those back and forth between writers and stuff like that. That's the unfortunate part of the business. But I just wanted to shout out the writers on the show, because it really does seem that they worked hard on it. So give them credit there. But yes, episode 1. Uh I think I had like mixed feelings about this episode a lot, because part of it I almost want to blame on myself a little bit, because I watched the last 4 episodes of Hawkeye leading directly into the release of Echo. So I had just finished 6, and then episode 1 starts and we get the same intro that we see in Hawkeye episode 3, and it's a lot of weaving scenes from Hawkeye into whatever new scenes that they added here. So while I was watching it, it was like, oh, this is recap's position to the umpteenth degree. How did you guys feel about it? Jake, I'll start with you.
I think it's. I think I had quibbles with the extent to which they did it, but I really think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. I saw someone on Twitter point out that there was a ton of criticism for the Marvels requiring you to have to watch so much shit beforehand,
Right.
whereas this kind of tried to make it that you didn't need to rewatch
And
Hawkeye.
that's why I blamed myself.
And so, like, I think that they could have been more efficient with it, and I feel like they could have, I would have preferred if they would have shoot some more new scenes, even if it was telling us information that was already shot in Hawkeye. I didn't like how they literally were reusing the scene so much.
I hated that.
It just was like, because it just felt like, I don't know, unnecessary, because it felt like a lot of the stuff that they were showing us from Hawkeye were stuff that anyone who watched Hawkeye would remember. Like, there was stuff, obviously, because I didn't rewatch Hawkeye, so there was stuff from her backstory that I was like the refresher on, but that was mostly the smaller stuff. Like, I don't feel like you needed as much footage from Hawkeye to recap the important events that happened around Hawkeye. You probably just distilled that down to 5 minutes of footage from Hawkeye, as opposed to like half the episode being footage from Hawkeye.
Yeah. How about you, Teej?
That felt like you talked about, what happened in post-production. That feels like they needed a space filler and they just said, let's copy paste these scenes over. I actually watched like a recap video of Hawkeye before I started this. And so quite literally I had just watched those scenes. And so to see them pop back up again, I was like, wait, that's literally the same scene. It's not even from like sometimes they'll show like the same events from like a different angle to show you it's
different
like
perspective.
No, this is literally the same exact scene that we've seen. I thought that was a strange decision, but to me, immediately when I saw that, I was like, this is weird post-production stuff. This was not planned to be this way. This was this way via circumstances, and you can always kind of tell when the run times of the episodes are not quite the same. There's a pretty, I think episode 1's about 50 minutes and episode 2 is like 34. That's always indicative of something changed from the way that we planned
It's
this.
the worst thing about streaming television. I hate they need to mandate it. I'm sorry. Episodes need to be 44 minutes long each. Sorry. Constraints are good for art. They are.
What about you, Rod?
So let me just say, first of all, one of the things I like about streaming is the ability to change episode length. Like, it's because when you hit it right, it's good.
I've just seen I feel like I've seen more mess ups than good ones, but sure.
But when they get it right, like when Game of Thrones hits you with like a Battle of the Bastards or something, you're like, whoa, what? Like when it's going off and you're still like, what did I just witness? Why does it feel like there's 20 minutes left or whatever? But so like there's certain times where they do nail it. But the thing for me with the recap replay thing, I didn't go back and watch Hawkeye on purpose because they put out a while ago that this Marvel Spotlight thing was supposed to be for people that don't even need to see any of the other series. And I went, yeah, right. How? And this is how. They just show you the series that you missed in the
just show it to you.
episode. Like you better off they might as well have better off just been like, go watch Hawkeye and then go watch this. Don't even try to, like, we don't want to have to retell y'all what you've seen already. And so yeah, I definitely thought the flashbacks felt weird. And then because they had to do like time jumps, but not the kind of time jumps where they explain they're doing a time jump. Like the only time that time jump they explain is when you see she's shot and it's like 5 months later and you're like, what happened? like why didn't you take why didn't you take all those flashbacks, throw them in the trash, and give us what happened in those 5 months that led to her getting shot and being out in the middle of nowhere, going back
That
home?
was so extremely weird, man. Like literally, she just pops up and she's wounded, and we're like, wait, it just said 5 months later. It just said that. I just saw that. Am I tripping? Did I miss I literally thought I missed a scene. Like I was like,
I really
I must have
did.
looked at my phone or something.
There's
I was like,
an
I don't
epidemic.
remember her getting shot at the end of Hawkeye, and also why is she still bleeding 5 months later? She didn't get that looked at.
She's been running around like that for 5 months, bro.
She ain't got sepsis or some shit.
Teej, I feel like you probably are with me on this. There's an epidemic of TV shows in particular, sometimes movies, but usually TV shows, thinking they're doing like setting up a mystery by just not having a scene that should be there. You know what I mean? Like just because you cut out the scene that shows her getting shot doesn't mean that it's a mystery. Like that's just bad storytelling. If she got shot, is it important to us to know? Like, especially because that's not like a thing. It's kind of just thrown in there. And if they want that to be like really mysterious, the next 3 episodes should be about like, oh my God, who shot her? Who shot her?
Yes.
People asking, what happened to you? And then, oh, I'm not telling. But they kind of just act like, it's almost like they're like, well, clearly, she's been doing some criminal stuff. So obviously she'd be shot by someone, yada, yada, yada.
Right. I'm like, the Kingpin's people shoot her? Like, this is important, dog. They were just like, nah, a veterinarian will take care of it.
No, a mortician. He was even better.
Right. A mortician will take care of it. I think they just wanted to show us a gross wound to be like, this ain't your mama's Disney Plus, boy. Look how gaping the wound is.
And I'm fine with that. Just show her getting shot by a goon. I mean, I don't.
Dang, bro.
Oh man, that's why like I just felt like it did, like to Teej's point, it just felt weird. It was just very. It's just like very off-putting, especially like, you have a 51-minute episode. I'm just like wondering, 51 minutes to start off, you getting a real shebang. And it's not to say that I ain't like this. I ain't like the new stuff that they added with the backstory of what happened to Maya's mom and her relationship with Bonnie at the beginning and things along those lines. But at the same time, mixing all that stuff in felt weird. But as we continue on with the episode, we get to see Fisk's influence on Maya and making her feel like she's number one in his eyes and stuff like that. I thought Jake had sent me a message regarding Fisk and the idea that he didn't learn the ASL, but he didn't learn it at all, but he hired somebody to do it in the car with her, which was like a very interesting touch of villainy. I actually thought it was a hashtag washed agenda. He was a little bit lazy and didn't really want to go about it that way. But Jake, I wanted you to expound upon that point as far as Wilson Fisk was concerned.
The thing is, I'm not even saying that like, what was striking to me is that it's not that he doesn't speak fluent ASL, like that's fine. But you have to keep in mind, like, he's known her since she was a small child. And like the thing that was striking to me is that when he uses like small phrases, he doesn't even, 1 or 2 words, he doesn't know the sign for it. Whereas like I feel like most people, know a couple of basic things, and if I had a close family member, I would learn some things. I think it's there's a great dissonance between him talking so much about how important she is, how she's like, number one, and how her needs are important, yada 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 to him. But he couldn't take the 3 seconds to learn how to say like I love you or sorry or thank you in sign language, because he's a hypocrite. He only cares about himself, really. Like obviously he feels something towards her, but he doesn't know how to feel the generous love that would all of her family members, who even though they haven't seen her since she was like 10, all speak sign language. So it says so much about him that he can't even meet her, a quarter of an inch of the way. And so I thought that was a really interesting character detail.
That's real villainy. I like that. I liked that touch. As soon as I saw the lady, like they literally have her framed, like she's in the dark, like you can't actually see her face. She's literally in the dark, and like the light is kind of focused on Kingpin. I was like, this is true villain shit. You have a woman in the shadows that's quite literally doing sign language because you can't even take the time to even try to do sign language. That's true villainy. I thought that was a good touch.
I liked it
Yes,
too.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and so we get Wilson Fisk back. It's great to see him. I had said earlier that day prior to watching the first episode, one of my favorite things in the MCU is him getting hit by a car and getting right back up,
Oh, it's great.
and just trucking along. Him getting blown up and then just getting right back up, and then getting shot in the face, right back up. Our boy Willie Fisk is back. It's great to see him. Rod, how do you feel about seeing our guy Vincent back in the role?
I love Vincent in this role. I love him reprising it. This is another one of those things that Marvel got right, like not recasting J. Jonah Jameson. Like sometimes it's just like, yo, that's about as good as you gonna get. Like, what we gonna go back to, like Ving Rhames or Michael Clark Duncan or whoever played Dick Clingfin and Daredevil with
it was Michael Clark Duncan, rest in peace.
Yeah, like we can't have that, man. Like, let's just keep it. Vincent did his thing. He seems different though. Like he's not necessarily playing him the exact same as Daredevil to me. Like the way he's delivering his lines a little more shaky, a little more hesitant. I don't know if that's just like it's been a while or if he's just like perfect. He's like Kingpin have been to some things now. You know what I mean? Like he done seen some things. So maybe that's why he's delivering the lines different. But I guess kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but the ending of episode 3, when you see him, it feels like he is Kingpin. Like he feels so big on the screen. I'm just like, yo, can acting make you bigger? Cause he just acted big. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, I would not want to fight that dude. It's nothing but acting. And he's just in a suit. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I love Wilson Fisk, and I really do hope they deliver on the plans of making him like a threat across all street level Marvel heroes and stuff, because Kingpin is like that in the books, and that's one of the reasons I like Willie.
Yes, and Teej, so what do you think about Wilson Fisk coming back? How'd you feel about how he's stood out in these first couple episodes?
I love to see him. Just that actor in that role is just so iconic, and the work he did with Daredevil is just so close to my heart in terms of portrayal of a villain. I just really like him. I like the fact that he doesn't really have superpowers. I guess that he's like super strong, but like he's just a big dude that kind of don't give a shit about anything. And I just like that. So to see that be the villain against Maya, obviously we knew that going into the show. I just love that. And seeing him back on screen has been so fun. I did like that we got a little bit of the relationship between him and, if that's going to be our big bad and this is going to end in some fight between them. I like the fact that we were kind of developing the relationship between him and Maya, and it was great. It was a great touch. We all knew it was going to happen, but when he popped up on screen, I still had a big smile on my face. I was just happy to see him.
I appreciate the context to the manipulation and the weaponizing that Hawkeye tells Maya in episode 5 of Hawkeye, and then you see Wilson do that here. To Rod's point, as far as Fisk having seen some things, I would finally get to comment on this. So I saw that they made the Netflix series all canon to the entire MCU. So
huge deal.
It is
nasty ass Jessica Jones jeans. Those are canon now. That's MCU canon now.
Luke Cage dabbing his way through every single guy.
Now Marcus Garvey Avenue, meet me at the People's Republic Center. Don't forget.
Let me go make Harlem great again.
By the James Baldwin Library.
I still can't believe they let him say that goddamn line.
Wait, did I think about it? Does that mean that Sway in the Morning is canon in the MCU now?
Method Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Method Man. Yeah.
No, I love those Netflix series. I don't care what people say. It doesn't matter. Honestly,
I just need them to not show Iron Fist again.
That's it.
Honest to God, dog. I even like Iron Fist. I like them all now
Oh, God bless
because
you, Rod. God
because
bless you,
when
Rod.
they listen, when
Rod,
they
I love you. That's what I'll say.
when they miss, it's like they were going for something. Like it's like y'all were just doing whatever over there. I love that stuff.
Hey,
man.
Finn, I need you to learn this fight scene in 3.5 minutes. It's 10 minutes long. I will
Oh
say
my
it did give
God.
us Jessica Henwick, so I can't be that
Yeah.
mad at it. But
Yeah, salute to
Yeah.
her. Yeah,
And my man
let's
that was
bring
doing
back
the
Holly
drunken,
Wing.
and my man that was doing the drunken style fighting. There's a lot of characters I'd love to see them bring back.
Was
from
that in season 2? I
universe.
didn't see season 2. I skipped
Yeah,
it.
season 2. I mean, it was obviously better than season 1, but that's not saying much.
Well, that's
You know what I
good. That's
mean?
good.
Like, but it was better than season 1. But it was more like an ensemble by season 2. It's like everyone was fighting but Finn, just about. So
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
how you dilute something that's toxic.
yeah, exactly. They were like,
we
bro,
could bring Misty Knight back into the MCU. That'd
Oh,
be great. Misty Knight
absolutely.
could pop up.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
the only
I mean,
thing
I
worth
think
having
All
because of
Rise
that show.
is All Rise still on though. She might not be able to make it, but
But who
that was a show
knows?
that
Who
the actress plays
knows?
the
Black
judge.
actresses, man. Taraji P. Henson say they gotta take whatever work they can get. So she might do it.
She's just gonna be working both. She's gonna be doing both.
She gonna be a judge by day and with a metal arm by night, bro. It's
I'm
hard
curious
out
though,
here.
if the Blade movie ever gets made, are they gonna be like, yo, you look a lot like this criminal they used to run Harlem?
I mean, if they gotta bring Luke back, they gotta bring Bushmaster back.
Yo,
No, they don't. They don't actually have to do that.
Don't.
Mariah Stokes, she gone born. Like what? What is this accent? Have you ever heard a Jamaican, sir? Oh, that was the best, yo. Oh my god.
Oh my
that
gosh.
was crazy. I was watching it, and that was one of the few times I'm like, this can't actually be what they settled on. Like, what did this guy like send in a fake audition tape? How did he?
Oh, but you know
Jesus.
what? All jokes aside, I do want to see the Punisher back.
Yeah.
in
And
this
also, I
universe.
love
be
Jessica
fire.
Jones.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones season 1 is my favorite
Oh,
of
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
seasons.
Yeah.
I think that Kilgrave is. My point has been that Kilgrave is, if he was now that he's in the episode, is a top 3 scariest villain that they've ever done, if not number
Yeah,
1.
absolutely. Yeah.
So there's some good stuff there.
I was more scared of the fact that she had the same jeans on for an entire
Yeah.
season of TV than
Yeah.
I was of Kilgrave.
Yeah.
But he
When
was
they-
pretty
yeah.
I was
When-
raised around white people though, so that's not that. It's not that.
Yeah, it was a time where like Luke was gonna hit that, and I'm like, y'all not gonna like shower first.
I mean, he
or
did hit that.
something?
They broke the bed.
Y'all not
Remember?
gonna shower.
They
I
broke
mean,
the
plenty
bed.
of times.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
saying-
episode after
oh, I
episode.
know,
they
but
was
I'm
going
saying-
at it, yeah.
As it was happening, I was like, y'all don't want to hop in the shower real quick. Some know she's been wearing those
She could not
jeans
be
since.
That's when I
bothered.
knew Luke Cage was not a black person that I would align myself with.
Yeah.
When he was chasing a white woman that I never saw shower. I said,
Yeah.
Luke, please break one stereotype for me. Please, Luke, please.
he got unbreakable skin, not unsmellable nose.
Jesus. I love those Netflix shows. Oh my gosh. What a time to be alive. We're definitely getting well, I know we're getting the Punisher. The Punisher's coming back.
Oh, for sure.
We'll see what happens with
Yes.
the Yeah,
And Kristen Ritter has liked some tweets that suggest that she's coming back.
They should, man, honest to God, dude, they should all come back. They should just kill off the dude that plays Iron Fist, let an Asian person get the powers,
Yeah.
and then just roll from there. I mean, Finn
Yeah.
seemed appropriately sorry when he was doing interviews the second season. So like,
Yeah.
step up as a white ally.
Appropriately sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like his fault, but kind of his fault. You know what I'm saying? Like what he gonna do? Turn the job down? Of course, I get why he took
Yeah.
it, but like, he know he was wrong for that. So like, give it to an Asian person that can actually do some stunt choreography.
Just let Finn be somebody else and then have a real Asian person be Iron Fist, and we could.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. Yo, but how
There you
crazy
go.
would it be if he been practicing all this time and he came back and he was nice?
Wow. That's
That would be insane.
yeah. Like you look. It's like, wait, Finn Jones is like a master in jujitsu. Like he was the one who choked out Mark Zuckerberg.
Right? That's why he ain't been doing movies. He just been practicing for 5 years. Just somewhere up in a monastery getting nice.
He's been trying out for the Ultimate Fighter. Like, I'm just gonna do some UFC fights on the side just to get ready for this role.
You go to his
my
Instagram, it's just reels of him just sparring with people. You're like, yo, what happened to him?
That's an insane box jump, Finn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Gotta love Netflix, man. But yes, before we got derailed, which we tends to happen on the show a
Yeah.
bunch.
This is a good derailment.
A good one. So yes, the rest of this episode, as we get to see, I think what was mentioned earlier by Teej about the Daredevil fight, one thing that I really enjoyed was the perspective that it was shown. It was shown just specifically from like Maya's perspective, as opposed to, we normally see Daredevil as the main character and we see it from his viewpoint and how he does things. We see it from Maya, which kind of makes Daredevil look even more badass the way that he was fighting. And it's like, oh, this is what it's like to go up against somebody, an elite fighter.
I totally agree with that. I thought the same thing as I was watching. I was like, man, he looks even more badass. The fact that we're cutting away from him versus watching him fight, like that just made him look even scarier. I really like that.
Now, Teej, were you thinking like, when is Maya gonna sign Please Bros?
I just love the fact that Daredevil is literally having a conversation with her as they're fighting, not realizing that like she can't hear what he's saying. And so like I just found it, the scene was, and just like Rod said, he just kind of pops up. Like, we just saw a fight scene and he just kind of like pops up and I'm like, oh shit, it's happening. Like,
because that's how it would be.
So much fun.
Yeah, that's the moment that I'm like, I'm gonna give this show a chance. Like, we had just sat through 20 minutes of replays, and I'm like, oh man, I hope they didn't drop the ball. But the way that they did the camera angle, where like you see her leave the room, and then you pan over, and Daredevil's already like in the background posted up, and you're like, oh shit, run, it's Daredevil. Like, that was, and then she fought him, but like they fought basically to a standstill. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like either one got a distinct advantage. Because I feel like with enough time, Matt would have worn her down, but something in Matt's soul was like, let me get out of here, and then he dipped. But man, what a cool cameo! Like, I love that shit. So the Daredevil thing was cool, and then the train heist, not heist thing. Those are the two highlights of the first episode.
Yeah, which we get in episode 2.
Oh, 2. Okay, that was
how
two
do we
highlights.
Episode 1? Episode 1 is we end with the reveal that Kingpin is still alive, right? They show him on the hospital bed.
Yeah. We get some of her bits going to Oklahoma.
And she goes to Oklahoma. She meets with her uncle at the ice skate, the roller rink, I should say. And basically they treat her like the element coming back into town. Like, we don't want to deal with her. Besides Biscuits. Biscuits shows her a lot of love. He's very happy to see her.
I have so many questions about this plot point. I have so many questions I did not understand.
Well, talk to me.
Why did she go back home? What was her reasoning for going back home?
So it seems like apparently she wanted, because remember, the uncle with the roller rink is still working for Fisk. So he has the whole train thing. So I guess after fighting Fisk's men, she still wanted to continue to hurt him for whatever reason, because I think she alludes to that in the second episode. I'm gonna go right after her. So she plants the bomb in the train to kind of mess up whatever shipment of wherever it was going for Fisk, whatever Fisk shipping supplies that they were doing. So obviously that
makes sense. So she wanted to blow up the depot in New York, so she knew she could do it on the train at home. So she goes home to do. Okay, my second question.
Yes.
Why does everyone in town know that she brings bad news around if they haven't seen her in 20 years? It's like everybody knows, like, whoa, not Maya's in town, some shit could really go down, but they haven't seen her since she was like 6. So like, how do they have an awareness of that? How do they know?
Her dad was like bad news, but
the grandmother hated the father for what happened to
he
his
did
mom.
get her daughter killed. I mean,
he did quite literally get her daughter killed. Like,
so,
and then the only thing he could add was, but don't worry, I killed the guys who cut the brakes.
Don't worry, I got him. So we're good. We're even, actually.
Your daughter's basically not dead.
For the record, I love that scene so hard, because that is
great
the
scene.
typical.
He's just a shitty guy.
I love that scene so much, because that is the typical like movie justice that we're used to. It's like, well, at least John Wick killed everybody, and it's like, my daughter's still dead. What are you talking about? Who gives a fuck about that, bro? Like I love that moment, dude. That was so fucking smart. Whoever wrote it that way, because I was like, there's so many times where someone says that and the person's like, "Yeah, thank you." It's like, no.
Yeah, it's like, no, that doesn't make me feel better at all. Actually,
Yeah,
like,
she said, now they families ain't got no fucking like people in them. What? Like that's not good, bro. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah. So yeah, when you get interject these other characters into it, I know we get Biscuits who I like. He's kind of like I know Jake used the words undercooked, but I like goofy people. So I felt like he was goofy enough just to be happy to see her. And it seemed like he was the intentional comic relief because there really isn't any otherwise, because everybody looks very sullen and very serious for the most part. But yeah, like it feels like at least just spanning across as we jump through 1, 2, and 3, the how each episode starts is interesting because this is stuff that you're not used to seeing. How did everybody take those each beginning? I thought the third one in particular, where we get kind of like the quotes and stuff like that, I thought that was an interesting way of portraying stuff. But I want to hear
the
from
old side. I
It
like
was
how
a silent film.
they're like a Western one, a silent film one.
Yeah.
The second one was my favorite because I don't know if any of you have seen The Northman, but there's a scene where they play a game that's violent as shit in The Northman, and that is similar to this game, which I guess is like a mixture of lacrosse and rugby. Like it's
That's
it's
what it,
it's
yeah,
like a
that's what it
very
looked like.
physical
Yeah.
game. I really liked that second one. That second one really stuck with me because it reminded me of The Northman, where they played the maybe the most brutal game I've ever seen. It was fucking one of the greatest things I've seen in movies in the last couple of years. So as soon as that scene started, it reminded me of that. I thought it was really well done, the way that it was filmed, the way that they're kind of filming this woman who is the only woman out there. They take the big lead. All of a sudden, what kind of coaching were they doing on the blue team that their best players is sitting in the back? And he's just like, yeah, I'm waiting. I want to get down by like 6 or 7 points before I get out there. Then I'm going crazy.
He was like the
I
ring.
didn't know
He
what
was
kind of
like the
coaching that was.
ringer on your company's softball team. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, we not gonna tell him that my man actually played softball. He played baseball in D1. We not gonna tell him that. We gonna let him get up 5, and then we are gonna walk their ass down. I was like, why? What is that strategy?
Oh man, but yeah, that's a great point. The episode 2 one was a lot of fun. Rod, what did you take out of these beginning scenes?
I like all of them. The starts, because if they're saying that it's a generational thing traced back to her time, like her people and through her ancestors, like I didn't get it the first time they showed it. I was just like, oh, it's like the origin story of like the Choctaw people or something. Like, what is this gotta do? I didn't even know
it's
they
like
were
they're
gonna...
underground, and then the skin fades once they come out. It was just it was very
the
very
woodpecker
different
that
to them.
apparently is like, and this is the stuff I knew. This is stuff I looked up. The woodpecker is a omen for like something. You're gonna get some like possibly bad news or something bad's gonna happen, and then the cave-in happens, and then they come out and the clay falls off their skin. And they turn into like humans, and I was just like, oh, I thought I was watching Echo. You know, like I was thrown off. And then once I realized after the second episode, oh, they're gonna do something different every episode. And we see her actually use those powers on the train in the second episode, and you're like, oh, so she gonna have powers. So she's not just... I thought street level meant like Daredevil, like no real powers, but so she got powers to go along with the hands. So I thought that was cool. And I've liked them all, but I thought the first one was probably the most like intriguing and beautiful and like just very majestic.
Yeah, the visuals were cool.
Yeah, and I always, man, I'm a sucker for it. Same thing with Miss Marvel. I'm a sucker for like, show me something, and Blue Beetle too. Show me something that I don't understand. Like, cause that's what made me feel like the director and the people that made it got like carte blanche. Whenever you show me something and I'm like, I don't know what it means, but that's something real. Like, it's some people out there in this group that know exactly what this means. It gave me that vibe, and I like that.
Nice.
It also feels like the lazy thing that whenever non-native people write native people, they'll like the refrain is that they talk about their ancestors, and it feels like
Mhm.
that's super vague. And I like that this, it's not just something that they say. Like there is a real, they trace these things, and that there's a connection. And even if there wasn't, any specific power or anything like that, I think that she still gets a spiritual power from these connections. And so, like, I think it just informs her as a character that she is that's so much of what they're trying to get across is that like she is not unique, in that none of us are unique because we all descend from who we descend from, and there is beauty and power in that. And yeah, I really liked. My favorite was probably the third one, just because I watched some silent films like for the first time in my life last year, so I liked seeing that approach, and just I think it's just such a cool. I like when they use different motifs to tell stories because it felt like it has like that a different vibe. That each of them really a different vibe. The first one was very like fantasy epic. The second one was almost like a sports type movie. I mean, I really do wonder what the parlays were like on that. And then the last one was just like was
They had
basically like,
DraftKings back then.
yeah, exactly. Sign up with promo code Choctaw. But the the last one I really liked though because it was using the genre of a cowboy movie from the native perspective.
Yeah.
Which is they don't like call attention to that. It's not like isn't it so subversive that we're using the language that was used. No, but they're
Right.
using that
Yeah,
language.
but it is subversive, and
It is,
I like that. Yeah.
because and they don't, like I said, they don't need to pat themselves on the back. That was the thing that I think what Rod brought up with how they don't call attention to this stuff. It is
Yeah.
really nice that it doesn't feel like they're patting themselves on the back for doing it,
Yep.
which is how you know that there actually are people like that in the room.
That's what
They don't
made
need to
me
pat themselves
feel
on the back.
like what happened that they just dropped it all like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like y'all clearly put
Yeah.
the work in. This the one that you
Yeah.
deserve to have like,
'Cause-
hey, take 7 days between episodes and talk about it and come back again. This is the series for that. Secret Invasion wasn't that. What If was day to day. So I get that. You know what I mean? But why do this series like that?
What was that you were gonna say, Jake?
I was gonna say that those people aren't the same people is the problem. The people who are putting all their heart and soul into it are not the people who are making the decision of when to release it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
part of
problem.
it. Yeah, that part of it again. Like we'll harp on it, and as we get when we cover the rest of the series next week, we'll cover that aspect even further. But I think the one thing I wanted to add about the silent film, that quote that was a bar: "To give life means nothing if I cannot protect it."
That's a bar.
Damn, it was like
I also like that
cut,
he
cut
dropped out.
nice, cut
I
nice.
like that when the bullets was flying, he dropped all the misogyny quick. Like it was getting real out there for them, and they was pinned down. She came over that ridge and started shooting people. He was like, "Whoa, let's go, girl!" Yeah, I forget what I said earlier about women can't fight. That was dumb. You shot everybody, and then like I do love the way that Maya's powers or abilities, how they show the flashback, and it just is like, remember how her ancestor wasn't missing nobody with these guns, and then Maya goes like bullseye on like 7 dudes, and you're just like, yo, this is kind of dope that she can just like tap into those powers.
Yeah.
All right. Can we talk a little about episode 2? I know we're kind of moving now, but
We're jumping around. It's fine. Go
I
ahead.
want to talk about the train scene because it reminded me of the American cinematic masterpiece, which is Unstoppable. And anytime I think of Unstoppable, it makes me happy. I mean that movie is truly a masterpiece. But I thought it was a really. The thing I liked about it was kind of like an intermediate level action scene. It wasn't a crazy, I obviously like the fights, and I feel like there could be more fights in this, but it was an interesting way to show her prowess in action without just more beating people up. It was a different type of thing. And this is one part where I felt like withholding information was very effective. Like, it did surprise me that it ended up being a bomb, but I like that we don't really know why she's doing this because that adds a level of distance between us and her that she, it actually makes her seem more competent because she doesn't need to explain all the stuff. She just already knows it. And so I felt like that was really cool, and it really, showed how it was a good mix of her being both really like a superhero in that she could do incredible stuff, but also it was not very graceful. She was hanging off. She was, hanging under it. She was getting hit by the gravel. And so I thought it was a really cool scene. And I like, it.
She
it
messed
just
up
was
her,
the way that
her
they,
leg. She messed up her leg during that thing. And
Yeah.
it was interesting because I was sure she was gonna have to fight somebody. you know. But then what the other thing about the reveal of it being a bomb was it made sense how she avoided fighting, because if she would have beat somebody's ass on that train, everybody was like,
Exactly.
she was there. So like it was, yeah, it was very smart. And then the other thing with this character, like I said, she's not a hero, she's really an anti-hero. Cause like that bomb was big, bro. She a
Word.
lot of people died that day up in that joint. Like, and like the thing that is consistent with this character, and I hope they don't really bend on it, but she's angry. She's traumatized and
Yeah.
angry. And every dumb decision she makes or cruel decision she makes is driven by that anger. And I'll accept that. You know what I mean? Like, cause as far as for character motivations, as long as it's consistent, I'll do it. Cause she does things sometimes where I'm like, this is dumb. You know, like hug your cousin and tell her that you missed her, and you know,
Yeah.
and she'll just look at her with this angry face, and I'm just like, oh nope, okay, you're something's broken in you, and this is just what you're gonna do. So I guess everybody got to die because you refuse to go to therapy.
I think the thing, yes, the anchor is a great point. I think the other thing when Jake is talking about the train scene overall, what we find throughout is how resourceful she is and how um every issue that she's had previously in her life has allowed her to become so resourceful. Like, I mean, it goes back to you go back to Hawkeye when Kate Bishop is in her apartment and the strobe lights and just like the silent alarms that she has, and she puts those same alarms in the house when she shows up. It's just simple things like that. She's always prepared. She's usually not caught off guard, except for the time that she's having that spiritual moment, and then she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
So besides that, but she's very resourceful. So like
That made no
when
sense, by the way. That made no sense. This you've been
talk to
showing
me,
this woman whoop everybody's ass. She just happens to be walking through the forest. She gets confused because she's having a moment with her ancestors, and then literally she just is taken. And the next thing you see is her strung up. I was like, I don't buy that.
Yeah,
Hated that. Hated
chloroform
it.
also doesn't work that fast. I hate to be like the well actually guy, but it just doesn't.
Well, how do you know that?
yeah.
That's the real question.
Because I'm a dork and I read articles like what action movies get wrong. That's why.
Okay.
That
It's
is
the
an
same reason I
incredible
know that.
follow-up question.
It sounded
It's
like
the
you
That's
same
an
reason
knew.
incredible follow-up question.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand, Rod. I understand why you would think that. And I feel like we've done enough pods together where you know that I just know dumb shit. Like,
I
yeah,
know,
if I
it's
was a
just you
sinister person,
you sounded very authoritative right there. Like, guys, come
well,
on.
I don't know. It's like, and the thing is, that's why I've switched obviously to like injection. But but besides that, I don't really have any experience with it.
Like, listen, in my experience, when you chloroform a 140-pound woman, it's gonna take 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. And the thing is, that you're better off just soaking that rag.
Yeah.
Just
Like, but nah, that joint was dumb.
Wow.
The only thing I was hoping she was gonna be like, I got kidnapped on purpose when she broke out or something. Cause I was like, how he catch you slipping? Like, you got the power of the ancestors, sis. There's no way you got caught slipping by the river, dog. But I
Yeah.
guess you did.
yeah. I
Oh,
do named
man.
Vicky.
Yeah. Shout out to Vicky and that cat tattoo.
so basically what we get in the third episode is obviously that part, which ends up being the whole roller rig fiasco with that guy who desperately needed that money from Kingpin's men, expecting that money like he really was ever going to get that money. That guy was an idiot. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I like in shows like this where you have the criminal who thinks that this is normal criminal stuff. Like, we're just normal criminals. We kidnap people for money. And it's like, no, buddy. This is like above your pay grade.
Yeah, these are Kingpin's men. Like they do not care about your life. And that was the first moment also in that scene when they kill him, how bloody it is and how the blood just kind of like leaks, like he kind of spits out the blood and he leans backwards. That was the first moment where I was like, oh, that's why this is like in the mature category. I was like, okay, now we're cooking. Now we got some real blood. I like that. We're cooking with that. I appreciated that touch. Yeah, let's get a little bloody. There's a reason why there's a lock on my Disney account, because my niece and nephew can access my Disney account, so I have my own profile. And if I have to go through the trouble of typing in my pen every time I log on, it better be worth it. So I appreciated the fact that we turned it up a little bit.
We definitely need
Yes,
a running list of douchebag criminals or guys who thought they were smart enough to negotiate with criminals, like that dude in Die Hard. Like, we just need a list of these guys who just
Oh.
they're
Hans,
always
Bubby, I am your
See?
white knight.
yeah.
Business is business. You use a gun, I use a fountain pen.
Like, we need a list because Vicky joins the list of just guys who just had
Yeah.
no fucking idea what they were
Jesus
stepping into.
Christ,
He's
this
like,
guy.
so you got the money? I was like, you're dead. You're fucking dead.
Like, you met him at the place you're holding her, you idiot.
Right.
And then it's clear that you ain't know where she was. You ain't know where Maya was at. And then you
Right.
just looking crazy, like he ain't looking at his lady
I love
and the other
I
girl.
love
like,
how he died too, because he goes like, I better go with her, and they're like, nah, you stay here. And then and then
You
as
think
he's
they're gonna fall
talking,
for that? Oh, I'm just gonna go with her. We'll be right back.
yeah, right. And then like as he's talking, they just kind of give up. Like they don't like they were gonna kill him anyway, but they just had this moment where they're like, I guess kill him now, right? Like, why are we dragging this out? He tries to run and gets shot in the back. So what a great death. Amazing.
Oh man. So what do we think about the scene that follows that when Maya comes in and whoops everybody's ass? How did we feel about that?
She was cooking.
The bit where she uses the guns from the game is one of those things. It's one of my favorite things about the John Wick series, which is a cheesy thing to bring when you're talking about fighting, is ways that he uses things as weapons that you never expect. I think the crowning achievement of that is when he uses a horse as a weapon in 3.
Oh my
And
god.
I just had never considered using like Time Crisis pistols
Yes.
as like a whip weapon. And I really have to give Maya Lopez a lot of credit for that.
I love the fact that the cord on the actual guns were so long, like way longer than they have to functionally be. Like, who's standing like 15 feet back from that arcade game to play that game? No one. But I love the fact that it's long enough to where she could pull it out, beat the shit out of them, and I was like, yeah, I like that. That's smart.
First of all, can we
that's
talk
smart
about
practical design?
Can we talk about how insane this skating rink is? There's so much stuff in here that
They got
has
everything in there.
They just had everything. Every arcade game. They had exercise equipment in the back. Like, I don't know what that like. Did it used to be a gym? Like, what happened?
I feel like I don't really know for sure, but I feel like in places like that where like there's no towns for a while, I think that these places can get like that. Honestly,
yeah.
Like, because I've been to places that were like bowling alley, laser tag type stuff, in arcade.
Yeah.
So, like, I think. Like, because I don't come from a small town, but I come from, like, a suburb, and there was definitely a place that had, like, mini golf, laser tag, and an indoor amusement park all in the same place. So, like, it's
That's
not
what
actually
I'm
that weird to
saying.
me.
I love that that touch of it, because one, it does feel
Oh,
like
so your take is just that it'll be fun.
yeah, no, that's what made it fun,
Yeah, I
right?
wanna
It was
visit.
that she went over and was like, oh,
Yeah.
here we go. Here's some I forget the game where you roll the balls. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna hit you
Skee
upside
ball.
the head and I'm gonna kill you with some skee balls. Like, what are skee balls doing in there? Don't matter, dog. This like go with the flow. Oh, here we go. We got the guns from the arcade. Like, do you ever seen somebody get killed with these? No, but I'd like to. Boom, we got that.
Yeah.
So like I like that. I love the Rob Zombie music turned up to like 12
Yes.
or
I thought
and-
I was going to have to bring that up.
yeah, because it's kind of like because it's white people music. But it's kind of like it's kind of like Daredevil turning off all the lights. You know, where like this is gonna
that's
fuck
exactly
y'all
what it is.
up, but not me. And so I did enjoy when they had the like scene where they were going through the laser tag or whatever, and they couldn't see. I mean, they couldn't listen for her, and she's just like whooping their ass, man. So, and Jake, you hit the nail on the head. Fight choreography with her is so good because she can. It feels like she can fight a man and take a punch from a man, and not do like jump off a wall, flip on your head, do a triple axel. Like, no, I'm gonna punch you in your fucking face, and you're gonna die. I love that.
And there are also, like, the longer takes really were great. And that's one thing that's something you can do if you have someone like Alakwa Cox, who clearly is... I don't think she's doing, obviously, all the fighting. There's probably some stuff that they have a double for. But she's doing a lot of it. And, like, there's the whole bit where they have it from the side, which almost... It just felt like an homage to the long one take in Old Boy. I mean, that's anytime I see someone fighting in a long hallway, I just assume. And it's clearly her the whole time, And that's... I think that is... Almost every time I see something that has bad fight choreography, it's like, does it have bad fight choreography, or is it just so clearly a stunt double on every shot? You know what I mean? And like here, they just can do so much by not having to cut away. And by doing, and a lot of times they'll do fake oneers where like they'll clearly have, if you know what to look for, they'll have a cut, but it looks like there's not one. And these techniques that I think were on a lot in Daredevil are really effective here, and just make the fighting feel much more visceral. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a dance. It also doesn't feel like super choppy like a Bourne fight. It feels like a fight.
Yeah. Yes, and Teej, I gotta ask you, did you feel like after seeing that fight scene that Maya was a hashtag real beater?
Holy shit.
Maya had the beat out.
She had the meat out, man. She was cooking. She was, and I totally agree with you that she brings a certain gravitas to the fight scenes. Outside of the fact that she's talented because of her physical frame, it just looks different than when you're seeing, sometimes we're seeing very tiny women like beating the shit out of men. It's like, yeah, but it just your brain, it's like an uncanny valley thing that your brain does. It's like, wait, she's half his size, and then she punches him and he flies backwards. Like, that doesn't make sense. Where she's got some heft to her in a way that it looks real, and getting kicked by somebody using a prosthetic leg sounds like it would be so fucking painful, and it looks so painful when she's doing it. Those fight scenes are really cooking. And going to the Rob Zombie thing, I just think the music across the board has been pretty good in the first 3 episodes. I like the Dochi drop that they used in Fast X. There's the same drop they used in Fast X, which is the worst movie of all time. Like, I like the fact the music has been pretty good consistently through the 3 episodes, and I appreciate that.
Didn't they have Casey and JoJo?
The theme song is great.
That's with the Casey and JoJo.
Yeah.
Which was the only decision that I thought was weird, because to play it during that scene, I was like, this is a skating rink song. It makes sense, but also, like, it's playing over the scene where the grandma's just like, and they're talking about the fact that she doesn't want to, like, and I was like, this feels so separate from the scene I'm watching.
It's very out of place.
It's
still a good song.
It's also like too much of a jam, because I started singing along with it, and I'm just like, wait, what happened? I gotta rewind.
A thing that I think we really can't overstate, because I know I brought it up when we were covering Hawkeye, it is just truly insane that they found like a 6'1" native deaf woman with a below leg amputation. Like, how?
Like,
who's this good? Who's this good?
Yeah,
like
I just don't know how. That's why Sarah Finn, is the real MVP of the MCU. I just shouts to her. It's incredible. Like, the fact that they don't have to like fake any of them. That they're, because it would just honestly be very annoying if like there was discourse of like, well, she is deaf and native, but she doesn't actually have a knee amputation, or she is native and does have a knee amputation, but she's not deaf. But the fact that she actually is representing those 3 identities is like both makes the show like better, and I think it also just means more. It's like, no, like there are people like this. It doesn't feel like the character feels more real to know that there's a real person who has those 3 identities.
Yeah, I think also like the way she fights is its own language, because your body language and stuff. She's not a like get punched and start smiling person. There's no quips. It doesn't even look like she enjoys violence as much as she's like, I have a goal to destroy y'all to get to my end point, and y'all are just in the way. Like, if they left, she'd leave. You know what I mean? Like if they were like, actually, we don't need to fight, she'd be like, cool, because I just came to blow up Kingpin shit, so y'all can live. So I like that about her.
Yes. And
but whoa, I just need to confirm something, because I was going to make a joke that Alakwa Cox, tall as hell, she should have hooped instead of acting. I did confirm she played basketball in college at the Wisconsin School for the Deaf, so she did hoop. She did hoop. Sorry, I had to interrupt you.
Yeah, salute to her. Yes. Couple things I wanted to get to before we get close to wrapping up. So Bonnie, there's a lot of talk about Bonnie at the beginning of the series. There's a lot of talk about Bonnie throughout. Like, why aren't you seeing Bonnie? What's the relationship between them? And I think Bonnie has some very justified anger. And this is where we get to what Teej was talking about at the outset with the talking ad and not really getting, enough of those two together, because it seems like it was a fundamental, important relationship in Maya's life to start out. So I'm curious to see where that goes, if they continue to add to that. But that little brief conversation that Bonnie has with her, where she's telling her, like, why didn't you come? Like, I'll always be here for you and stuff like that. I think it was interesting that like Maya's still trying to like brush her off. Teej, what did you think of that whole scenario there?
I kind of liked the way they set it up. Obviously, we knew that we were going to get a thing with her and Bonnie, given the fact that one of the first scenes in the first episode is how close they were as kids, and then they're kind of separated. And Maya goes out of her way not to contact her when she gets back. So I like the way they kind of set it up to where they can have a part of that conversation, but that they have to have the resolution of that later in the show. So they get a part of it, but it's happening right in the middle of this thing at the skating rink, so you can only get a part of it. I thought that was just really smart in terms of writing and plotting out the trajectory of their relationship across the show. I liked the way that they set that up for sure, knowing that they got to give us a piece of their reconciliation, but not the whole thing. In episode 3, I thought it was smart the way they did it.
Yes, and Rod, do you have anything to add about the whole Bonnie situation?
I would say this. As of right now, I don't really like Maya as a character. Like, I like her watching, like as a TV protagonist, but like as a person, she seems like a dick. And like when they like when Bonnie's pouring her fucking heart out to her, and she's just stone faced looking at her like, yeah, and she's like, well, I mean, your dad died. You know what I mean? Like this, like at what? Like you can't give me something off of that? She's just like, yeah, well, people die every day. And then like,
you hear about those guys in the warehouse in New York,
right? And then she kicks Maya and punches Maya as part of the distraction that clearly they had not planned and worked
the shit
on.
out of Bonnie too. She punched her hard.
Bonnie, yes, she punched the shit out of and kicked her with the leg. Like I was just like, Maya, you don't seem like a cool person at all right now. And I don't know how they're gonna fix this. If they're gonna have to kill Bonnie, or if like they're gonna really have some type of emotional breakthrough where Maya like cries and admits like, yo, I am messed up. Because something needs to happen. She owed Bonnie a damn apology, and probably her grandmama too.
Yeah, I think I actually appreciate is that she actually does act like someone who was raised in a criminal underworld. Like she actually is like a kind of a shitty person. Like I know that they try to paint her dad as a nice guy, and on some level he is, but he also, took his daughter away from her home because he needed to keep doing crime. So like it is an interesting situation, and I agree that I really don't care for Maya as a person. I could have used a little bit more of some type of positive interaction, more just to understand what there is to root for her about. Because, like, I don't expect this series to end with her being as jaded and angry, because she is a hero. Right. She's not someone who is like, she's not like the Punisher, she has more hero in her than that. But no, I felt like actually more of the humanizing happened with her and her grandfather in that scene. But even then, it was more. Most of the humanization you get is the way that other characters see her. Like the way that Graham Greene plays talking to her. What I like about him, and I think Graham Greene is incredibly good at this, is he sees through the bullshit. He's just like, yeah, you're a tough criminal, whatever, but you need me to fix your leg,
Right.
And so I like that really helped. So I
very good.
I hope in episodes 4 and 5 we get more of, even if it's not so much Maya opening up, more of the what Bonnie sees in her, because I think so much of what we learn about characters and stories is seeing a character through another character's eyes, and so I would like more of that.
Well, it's also weird because her excuse for like her grandmama and her not getting along was like, well, she never texted me, and I'm like, Bonnie was texting your ass every day. You just don't want to talk to the people from home. Like somebody need to call you on your shit.
Oh man, hashtag wash agenda. When you get a little older and you get a little stubborn, and that's why
she's not old. She's not old. You can't do this. You can't say that about. She's like 28 in the show. What are you doing?
You can say that about Grandma, because Grandma is unmoved by any appeal to reason. She is unmoved. She's like, well, fuck that.
She is washed, but don't try to pull any Maya.
Shout out to the grandma being a mail carrier.
Oh, right. Yes, we didn't bring this up. Shouts to mail carrier. Mail carrier representation.
Also, Biscuit, $100 is not enough to fix that truck. Like he pawned his PS4 for $100. I was like, bro, that's not even the fender.
Why couldn't Maya just give him the money? Maya has been a criminal for some moment of time working for Kingpin. She ain't broke. Why couldn't she just give him the money for the truck? I didn't understand that.
She gave him the money to buy all the stuff for the bomb.
That's just terrible.
And why is this man still on PS4? Get it together, bro. What are we doing? What happened to the future?
The Marvel Universe
is trying to play GT.
I was gonna say the Marvel universe is in like 2025 already. He should be on like
Yeah.
Yeah,
PS6.
word.
He's like the guy who's on Twitter like, is a GTA 6 gonna be on PS4?
Oh Jesus. Okay. So just to close out, obviously, Rod had mentioned this earlier, but seeing Fisk show up to confront Maya and the way that ends is classic setup for what should be a very intriguing showdown for the next 2 episodes to close the series out. I'm fascinated to see where it goes. Rod, do you have any final thoughts on what we've seen so far?
Mhm.
And after talking about it for about an hour and change, do you feel any different?
Like I said, I still enjoyed the show. It's dope to me. I really enjoying getting to know Echo in this universe, seeing Kingpin again. The only two things I wanted to say that we did get to bring up, the Kingpin phone call was as scary as if him showing up and whooping everybody's ass. Like the fact that this man
Yeah.
made one phone call and everybody was
Oh.
like, fuck it, let them all go, guys. We're going home. And they clearly didn't want to do that. They were like, she has killed
Great
so
point,
many
yeah.
people. And they were like, big man says what it is. We got to go home. And then the other line that we didn't bring up in like episode 1 is Kingpin trying to relate to her with, my father, he died too. I'm like, you killed him. Bro, that's not the same.
That's not the same at all. You killed him.
What the fuck?
When I was a boy. Oh my god.
That's it for me.
Jesus, man. Oh man, that was great. And how about you, Teej? Through 3 episodes, how you feeling?
I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't say I'm having the most fun with some of the plot points or some of the relationship stuff, but I think that'll get better as Maya starts to realize that she's pushing people away and kind of opens up to the people around her more. I think that'll make the show better. I'm enjoying the fight scenes. I love the Daredevil cameo, and I just love seeing Wilson Fisk on screen. So through 3 episodes, I don't feel like I've wasted my time. And that's kind of after Secret Invasion, which stole a bit of my soul, and Moon Knight, which stole a bit more of my soul. This is what I just want to watch something that I don't hate myself for watching. And this is definitely it. There's enough here that I like to where I'm enjoying myself. So I'll give it a thumbs up for now, hoping that we're going to get even better in the next final 2 episodes. I'm excited about it.
Listen, man, Secret Invasion did a lot of damage to folks, including this show.
Yeah.
So,
but I'll say this: we met Rod. I think this is when we first had you on, and you just became like the resident. I think you were on the last 4 episodes.
I just came to the house and never left.
That was a lot. That was a lot every week.
Now, my final thoughts is actually a question for Rod. Now, we obviously all love Vincent D'Onofrio, or as Dalbean would say, Donofrio. But Rod, I have a question. What would it be like if Terrence Howard were to play Kingpin?
Oh my god!
I killed my daddy too. I killed my my daddy died too, man. He was murdered. Something like that.
Thank you. It's never not funny. It's never not funny.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Oh, Echo, 3 episodes. 3 episodes here. We'll be back next week.
Oh, wait. I have one more question. I'm sorry to derail.
Yes.
Do y'all think
sure.
Do y'all think we're gonna see Bullseye? Because y'all remember from the
No.
old Daredevil, he didn't die. He got his back replaced with some like, I don't know, artificial intelligence or some shit. And if the Marvel shows are canon, and I'm just because I know they're not gonna let Maya kill Kingpin, so that's off the board. So like maybe she gets a showdown with like
he's gonna be in the new Daredevil show, so they definitely not gonna kill him.
Okay, yeah.
I think it'll be hard because I think that Daredevil season 3, I feel like just is kind of not in the public consciousness anymore. Like honestly, I don't think about it except for the one thing I once said on a pod about it, and so like.
What was that? What was that, Jake?
That before they revealed that the one nun was his mother, I thought that her and Charlie Cox had really good chemistry.
Oh no! Oh no!
And the thing is, I will say this: more than one person has reached out to me in private and said that they agree with me.
Oh no!
But anyway, no. But so I feel like they might like tease it, but I think that it would kind of be like out of left field because like I'm not thinking about Bullseye right now,
Right.
Yes, I think the one thing that I feel like they're going to focus on is Fisk's eventual rise back to power. I think that going into the Daredevil show, it's been heavily implied that Kingpin is going to run for mayor, and we will get something in the comic book uh, league of Devil's Reign, where
Mm.
Kingpin becomes mayor and then puts out a bunch of vigilante laws, and
Mm.
which puts Daredevil and Spider-Man in particular in his
Mm.
crosshairs. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens if they decide to go that way. But there's a couple more episodes to go where that go. But I think at least this focus will be on Maya resolving whatever she has with Fisk, and
Right.
then moving on to whatever Fisk is going to do next.
Okay.
Which again, I love the idea of. I think it was Brad Winderbaum who said Fisk is the street level Thanos.
Mhm.
So like this guy needs to be the center of everything that's going on in the street level stuff in the MCU. So as long as they're able to do that, I think that they'll be pretty successful. So
Okay.
I'm excited to see where that goes, and I'm also excited to see how Maya's story closes out in these next 2 episodes. This has been a lot of fun. I want to thank our guests, both Teej and Rod, for joining us. Rod, where can we follow you? Where can we find your work?
Just follow me, Rodimus Prime, on Twitter, and just listen to the podcast, The Black Guy Who Tips. Comedy podcast I do with my wife, talk pop culture, politics, whatever comes to mind that day. So thanks for having me as always, y'all.
Yes, a lot of love, Rod, as always. And first timer Teej, pleasure to have you on. I appreciate your insight. You were great. Where can we find you? Well, we know where we can find you, but tell the people.
First of all,
tell the new listeners.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm extremely nerdy about the MCU, and I just love talking about it. So I definitely appreciate the invite. I'm on Twitter, less_humble_Teej. Contrary to what we said in the intro, I actually tweet very wholesomely and have never involved in any shenanigans. So
No.
you can follow me if you like that kind of content. Very wholesome, very clean content. I'm into that. I'm also a podcaster. I'm on 2 podcasts. One's about college football. It's called Slander You. And the other one's about movies. It's called The One Take Pod. So check me out. You can find all that on my Twitter account. And again, thank y'all for having me. Thank you to y'all for having me.
Of course. We'll definitely have you back again in the future. And he definitely did not feud with Jamaica over Usain Bolt. That did not happen. That was not a thing. That was not a thing that happened at all. And he's currently not feuding with LSU fans. He's not doing that either.
No, and he had a very wholesome reaction to the Jonathan Majors interview.
No, yeah, like Coretta Scott King she's the realest thing to a saint, according
I have
to
no comment on any of these things. I have no comment on any of those things.
Oh man, love you, Teej. This is an
Thank
honor
you for
and a
coming
pleasure,
on, man.
sir. Yes. And Jake Christie, where can we find you, my friend?
You can follow me at the J Christie. Listen to my other podcast about the USA Network's original series Psych called Love at First Psych. We actually just finished up season 4, so I'm excited about that.
Catch him
Awesome. And you can
with
follow
his
me on
family wearing shorts in the winter.
You're damn right. I'm from Florida, baby. I'm a Florida boy.
I retweeted that, and
Yeah,
I guess my timeline doesn't know we're friends because they were trying to slander you and your family. I was like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah. I saw that, and I'm like, but my thought was Rod's timeline doesn't know we're friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, I'm just the random white guy that he decided to pick on. But no, yeah.
I was like,
It
that's
was
the
like
homie.
75 degrees.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
We were by a lake.
So good.
Just tremendous stuff, man. You can follow me on Twitter at AnthonyCanton_3. Follow the show at MC University Pod on all platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep getting those numbers up. Appreciate everybody for supporting there. Patreon.com/MC University Pod, where you could get our bonus content. We have a subscriber mailbag later this month. We are finishing our Fast and the Furious coverage, Fast X. Jake and I will be doing that movie that Teej does not like so much.
Yuck.
Yuck.
You got it. We had to. We did the first 10, so got to finish it up.
We got to finish it up, and so look forward to that. And of course, if you are a Avenger level subscriber to the Patreon, you have an opportunity to appear with us on a subscriber mailbag. And of course, $3 gets you into the Discord. Appreciate everybody for listening and supporting the show. For Teej, for Rod and Jake, I'm Anthony Canton III. This has been Marvel Cinematic University, and we will talk to you next time.